Will staying in the impersonal consciousness I am without personality lead to awakening, self-realization? Well, it's not like you're learning about how to become a ballet dancer, but everything is grace in the end. And I don't want to get too much in to that debate, like if it will or it won't. Like for me, it's settling down the person, and it's seeing the illusions of the person and coming back to really feeling the body. But what pushes you over the edge and makes that awakening happen is something that nobody knows. Like it certainly makes your seeking reduced if it's practiced over a long period of time, as well as integrating the emotions and the feelings of the person. So it's like I'm not talking about a cut-off I'm talking about like understanding and experiencing the human, which happens when you do the I am practice, because it's about coming back to what's actually being experienced in the person rather than the mental story. And most people are always in a mental story, like I am happy, whereas really they feel angry. So when you do the I am, you're becoming astutely aware of what's happening in the body and reconnecting with the body. So it's like you're really at the same time learning about yourself and learning about your relationships with other people, because you're actually experiencing what's happening rather than your story. Like your story can be so vastly different from what's actually happening. Like your story can be, this person is a terrible person, but what can actually happen, you can be telling yourself this person is a terrible person, is you're being the terrible person. And through that story, you don't realize it, but you're actually being a real ass to them. Like, I mean, that's how delusive stories can be. And that can be in someone that's considered sane in our society. So you can be treating someone badly, but when you're with them, you're feeling like they're abusing you, but they might not even be abusing you. They just might not be giving you what you want, but the mind can't define or distinguish that, and it's related to past experiences. So then the story is arising that this person is a terrible person. And then the actions that you do are really like passive aggressive or not nice to them because you're so unconscious of what's happening. So when you do the I am, like it becomes more and more obvious, because you'll do it and you'll begin to realize, okay, I'm having a feeling of being abused in my body. What does that mean? So I'm standing there and I'm feeling abused in my body. And then you're not in your story of what they're doing, you're actually more seeing what they're doing. You might need external help to point that out, because it might be such a strong story that's projected onto them. It could be the other way around as well, that you feel like you're the perpetrator when you're being abused. This is so common. It's amazing, the delusions of the mind. And like you feel lack of energy, and you think it's because you've got exhaustion or problems with exhaustion, but it's not actually that. It's because you keep repeating to a story to yourself that you're unconscious of, that you're worthless, you're useless, you can't do it. And then it creates exhausted energy. And then you think it's because you've got some physiological problem, when it's actually a narration that's happening. And as you do the I am, you're becoming astutely aware of all these things. You can't keep doing the I am and not be realizing that you're telling yourself currently, or you're feeling currently, that you're a piece of poop, that you're not good enough. So really, like what the I am practice is becoming aware of what's happening in this moment right now. And what most humans are in this seeking story of what's happening right now, which is vastly different to what's happening right now and completely cut off from their body. They're just like a walking head, like, I'm just what I think. It's amazing. Yeah. Thank you for your question. And it can be really painful at first doing this. This is why you don't do it, because it's like reverse. And this is where the dark night of the soul comes in, and like it feeling very hellish. And it's really good to reach out and like speak to people and go to teachers that have been through this. There's like all this reference page on my website that you can go to, because as you begin to become present, if you've been telling yourself for 50 years that you're a piece of poop and that you hate yourself and you've not been conscious of it, as you become conscious of it, it can be hellish. Or that you've been really awful to somebody in your life and treated them really badly, or you've been abused, all these different things. It can be horrifying to realize your projections and the effects that they've had on you and your health. Very, very, very incredibly painful. I don't talk about that enough because I forget, because it's a long time now since I had that big shift, and I don't really have huge amounts of pain or old seeking patterns coming up. They do come up, but it's not in my consciousness so much. So it's good that we talk about that, like how uncomfortable it can be. And this is why people don't want to do the I am practice. And this is why people run away from this subject. Because before I started pointing out the I am practice, what I was trying to say is, this is it. I was trying to encourage like this being remembered, this moment, which is the same as the I am practice, without giving an explicit direction for you to do the I am practice, because I didn't want to encourage that sense of doership and that idea that you can do something to come to freedom. But the problem is that it misses you often if you don't give explicit, like you have to do something, because the mind is like deceptive, and then it will say, oh yeah, I don't have to do anything because there's nothing worth doing, there's nobody doing anything, and then go and snort cocaine or drink a bottle of wine. Yeah. So now I'm just like full out saying it, and then there'll be a point where you realize there was no one ever doing that. Like, this is all about becoming present to what actually is, and stop dreaming your way through life. Like, most people are dreaming, they're in their fantasy of what's happening rather than in what's happening.